Okay, look, this is not to get y'all in trouble, y'all. This is to show y'all something. So let's see, I'm moving that over here. We've talked about the different types of physical evidence. We've mentioned some of them. We're going to jump into our main topic for today. So we covered fingerprints the last couple of weeks. Really, really, really loved y'all's fingerprints. Thank you for sending me those photos. Keep sending them to me if you have not already done so. We'll talk about blood spatter later on, potentially. There's also hair fibers and ballistics, right? Bullets, in other words. But today we're going to talk about handwriting. You might think, really, Mr. B, we're going to talk about handwriting? Yes, it's super important, y'all, because it's very subtle. Meaning you might not think it, right? But a lot of big cases have been solved based on handwriting. So again, we're jumping into some handwriting analysis. And this is a very helpful video for us right here.
Analyzing handwriting to help solve crimes. It's not just something you see in the movies, it's real. And tonight, Washington's Most Wanted's Perella Lewis gives us a rare look at how forensic scientists do it and why our imprints are so unique.
It can be writing on a wall, writing on an object, so a variety of things.
Brett Bishop is one of only 3 forensic scientists in the state specializing in document examinations and handwriting.
We're looking at things like proportions in the writing, style, letter formations, spacing, slant, connections between letters, stroke direction, clockwise, counterclockwise.
The process to do his job takes years of specialized training before they're handed documents, forged checks, or even ransom notes for analysis. And if you think you can throw him off by writing with your opposite hand, he says, no way.
Generally speaking, that master pattern still exists, whether they're writing with the pen in their mouth, between their toes, left hand, right hand. It's still coming from that same mental copybook image.
Brett demonstrated a technique used to recover writing from something other than the original source.
Or just write anything.
I quickly jotted down the first thing that came to my mind.
It's a ransom note.
Then I was asked to do it again.
So now on this piece of paper, just write anything.
And with that, he goes to work.
This one. Try and get the wrinkles out as much as possible so they don't interfere with the image.
This part of the process is pretty fast.
Place this on top. So now I'm going to turn on toner, and toner is going to be dispersed in this hood, and you'll see it collect in the areas where your writing was.
And within minutes, my text from underneath the paper appears.
And that's it.
He uses this technique for several things, including fraud. Here's an example of a document changed to add an extra 0.
So this is what it looks like to the naked eye. And then this is under the...
Notice the extra 0 they added here. He's able to spot that. He's able to spot, hey, they had a check for $400. Why did somebody lie and change it to $4,000? Interesting stuff.
BSC.
And he also trains election officials to verify signatures.
Some things that are significant or what to evaluate in signatures, what kind of handwriting characteristics to look at, of this curved downstroke.
He fights crime one word at a time and brings those to justice who could otherwise be written off.
I think it's very important. From, those threat letters, harassing letters, bank robbery notes, to even, for example, these financial crimes. For justice to be brought forward in some of these instances where something as simple as, taking money from somebody else, it's still wrong, and there's still a penalty to be paid for that.
Alrighty.
Perella Lewis.
Interesting stuff, y'all. Right, I mean, handwriting, it might not come off, and it's not ballistics, right? It's not bullets, it's not blood spatter, but, sorry, in the video, he's one of three detectives, of 3 analysts that do this kind of work, so it's very important. Your job becomes very important right away. So, document analysis, right? This is when just like it was shown in the video, you're comparing the documents. You're comparing, well, maybe somebody had a hunch. Maybe there's a fake document of sorts. And you want to know, you're trying to find out, is it real? Is it fake? Did something change? Did someone change something in that document? All right, so our document expert, we saw them in the video. I'm making this distinction. I'm trying to show you the difference because I just doing a little bit of research, you might fall and find different types of things on Google. So with the document expert, just like in the video, these are people who scientifically, it's science-based. They analyze, they look at your writing, they look for all the little traits and other features in any document you have. It could be a letter you wrote, it could be a check or a contract I wrote. So again, you're examining notes and comparing the traits. However, you might find, do a little search on YouTube or on Google, something that's called a graphologist. So these people, they study the personality based on the samples. They might say, hey, your letters are very spaced. They're so far away from each other. That means you're not very happy. So again, this is not a scientific analysis. It's not based on science. They're saying they can indicate a writer's personality, right? How you act, who you are. So again, we're going to focus more on the first one, on the document expert. So the question document, that can be a signature, a document, a written mark, that is at least believed to be fake, right? It's either fake or it looks really fake that you need to analyze it, right? It's question. We put that question mark on the document. Some other examples. You can have checks, you can have lottery tickets, wills, right? If somebody dies and they have a lot of money, or they don't even have to have a lot of money, they have to have a will, right? Who does their property go to? Passports, as shown there. Money can be fake. We're not going to talk about a lot of fake money today, but it definitely is part of this. And with a lot of the news, voter registration, as you saw in the video, that a document, an analyst, he can definitely, or they can definitely check to see signatures if voter registrations are correct. So again, I feel like not a lot gets past them. Experts say no two people write exactly the same. What does that remind you of? What else do experts say that no two people have the same of? Yeah, if you're thinking fingerprints, you're right. Yeah, it's just very similar to fingerprints. If you're writing subconsciously, meaning if you just write, right? If you're not trying to write pretty, or you're not thinking about it, you're just writing how you always written. Characters are formed from habit, right? You get used to. If you ever see my handwriting, it gets sloppy. I can try my best to be as neat as I can, but when I just don't think about it, it's gonna stay the same. It's gonna be very similar. So what are some traits that these experts look for? Well, maybe they have fancy curls, as shown on the bottom right. Right, there's different styles. People have different styles of writing. I know my dad writes all capital letters. That's just the way he writes. He might make the letters smaller, but they're all capitalized. The spacing, right? The spacing might be different. For example, if you look down here, the spacing between the words, they might be, as in the first example, there's a lot of space in between, or it might be super close. It might be very close, very small. The pen pressure, how hard are you holding the pencil? Are you pressing down on it a lot? Some other ones could be the connection between letters, right? Even if you're not writing in cursive, you might just connect the letters. Or how are you forming the letters as well? So how do you analyze handwriting? What are the steps? Well, first, you're looking for the traits. Right, the traits we just talked about. How is the spacing? How is the letters? How are the letters formed? How is the style? Right? Are you writing really small? Are you writing really big? And next, you have to obtain a sample of the suspect's writing. let's say you have, we're going to do this in our form later on. Let's say you have 5 examples. There you have 5 different suspects. You're not sure who faked this document. So you got to get an a sample of each of them. And this sample is called an exemplar. Then you start comparing those exemplars to the questionable document. You're trying to find, well, who's the one that did this? Right? So again, you have a letter. This is actually from the Zodiac killer, which I think we covered before in one of our stories of the week. And you have to find an exemplar. What are exemplars, right? What are some samples that you might get? What are some examples of this? Well, first, you can have those suspects write a letter. You can get diaries, right? When you're writing a diary, you're not thinking about how you're writing, you're just writing. So that might be a really good one to use. Maybe a personal note, maybe a greeting card. What you need to watch out for though, right? Because you're going to compare these to the document that might be fake, right? You want to make sure that this writing contains some of the same words or phrases as the document in question, right? Because that's going to help you find out, well, did suspect A do it, or did suspect B or C or D do it?